I hope you have an amazing time, and I'm so glad that you are back. But if it is your first time, hello, how are you? My name is Karina. I am a nutrition sciences student, and I have worked throughout the wellness industry, from the cosmetics industry to now being directly related to the medical field. And I am here to give you every single little tip that you could want to know when it comes to not only your wellness, but also your mindset so that you're able to completely transform your life. Today, I am speaking about the idea of food as a ritual, the psychology behind plating, savoring, and pleasure. And I wanted to bring this on because I've come to find that as a nutrition student, we very much talk about the science behind the food, the nutrients, the macros, the micronutrients, how much water you should consume, how much calories you should consume. But no one talks about what happens after you're done cooking it. And that's my point entirely. A lot of people don't understand that the behavior side of consuming food also comes into play in many facets in our lives. Not only how we behave and see food, but also how we interact with the world around us when it comes to how we eat. And unfortunately, I had gone through a very, very big moment in my life where I had to realize that I was just eating to refuel, where in reality, we can eat to appreciate food a lot more. So, I'm going to give you all the things that I have learned along the way and all the tips that I know for a fact that you can incorporate tonight to improve your relationship with food once and for all. It's not going to be an easy road, but it's one that is worth achieving. So if you are ready to hear everything that I have to say, keep on watching. One of the first things is that we have turned the act of eating as a multitasking thing. You are eating and looking at your phone or even the computer. I know people that they're in their desk jobs with the bowl of the food with the fork stuck in it. They don't even use a knife. They're just stuffing it in their mouth and then they go back to their computer. The reality here is that we have gone accustomed to the lack of boredom. And this does not relate only to food, it also relates to everything that we do in our daily lives. You are currently watching me from a social media platform. Regardless of which one you're watching me in, there's a chance that you may have just come from doom scrolling or many other things if you happen to find my content from a platform that took you to another one. And the reality here is that we find ourselves doom scrolling for hours, our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter, and even someone that does an awesome piece of content will find themselves not even having your attention fully because you won't even bear to watch not even 2 seconds, let alone 3 like you used to. So it makes it really hard for me to turn to most people and say for them to slow down how they eat, to not eat while they work, to not be on their phone, to not watch a movie, to not watch a TV series. And don't get me started with the reality that was designed by many, even food companies of the idea of the TV dinners. The TV dinners had a huge boom in the US, which was basically the idea of you taking your dinner in front of your TV and it came prepackaged and all you had to do was stick it in the microwave. When food becomes fuel instead of nourishment, it leads to you never really feeling satisfied because you are just stuffing your face. You're not listening to your hunger cues. You're not feeling the textures and flavors in your mouth. So it never leaves you satisfied. Have you ever had this moment where you finish eating dinner and you find yourself being like, something's missing? And then you try to go back and get that pleasure and satiety and all those feel good things by maybe going into the salt or into the sugar, aka you getting into your chips, your sauces, or even getting into the chocolates and ice creams and cookies because you are missing something from the act of eating. And that comes specifically from the pleasure sensors while you eat. When you slow down and you turn the act of eating as a ritual that must be honored, then you start to feel the pleasure. So let me tell you exactly what I learned from slowing down and turning food into a ritual of pleasure. The first thing that I realized when I started this was how much I was not tasting my food. For example, I would prepare a piece of food, I would start eating it, and I would be eating it so fast. And not only fast, but I would just swallow it right away. I wouldn't leave it in my mouth. I wouldn't chew it. I wouldn't savor it. I wouldn't give myself the pleasure of like, I just spent like an hour cooking this, but I'm not even appreciating it to its full extent. And then as the weeks gone by, I started to slow down, but it feels uncomfortable. Like, especially if you sped up because of, you have stuff to do, you have things to attend of, you have meetings, you have so many things that you're supposed to do. And then the idea of slowing down and savoring your food, it is foreign. It is completely foreign to anyone that has experienced this. My mother, for example, is one of those. My mom, she got so used to only having 30 minutes of a lunch break to eat at work that she just got used to just almost inhaling her food in, because she was like, I need the energy to keep on going because my job is physically demanding. I need to eat as much as humanly possible. And then what would happen? If you don't lose it from the emotional and psychological side, which is what we're talking about today, you are also going to lose from the actual physical side. First of all, you're not going to listen to your hunger cues. So what happens is that you may overeat. Also, by eating too fast, you're consuming more air, so you may actually get more bloated, have more digestive issues. By eating too fast and not chewing it correctly, you're also making the digestive process a lot longer, because your stomach is going to take longer and your intestines are going to take longer to really break down the food. And that's also going to hinder the way that you absorb food as well, because believe it or not, but digestion starts in your mouth with your saliva. And a lot of people don't understand that the act of you eating and chewing and getting your saliva to kind of, a lot of people know when like you smell something good, like you almost feel salivation in your mouth. That is exactly what your body is doing, is preparing you for the act of digestion. What tends to happen is we tend to be so quick and put it all in our stomachs, and then we don't even realize that we may be hindering our digestion. So idealistically, you chew slower, you chew more times, and you take more time to appreciate the food. And that actually starts to return the pleasure of eating. Have you ever gone to a restaurant and you know that you have all the time in the world, and you just so happen to want to take your time because you're thinking, I did not cook this, I want to appreciate this, and you're eating and you're just like taking like a bite at every 2 to 5 minutes because it's so good and you want it to last longer and you almost want to lick the plate? That is exactly how you should treat every single meal that you have. Now, if you agree with me, here's some tips to actually start to implement this in a easier way so that you start to make those changes. So first of all, let's remove the idea of the Instagram plates and making it look pretty. You don't have to make it pretty. If you wish to, you can, but it's not obligatory. What matters here is during the eating. Put your phone away, put the TV away, put the computer away. Do not touch them. Use real plates. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen people eat out of Tupperware containers. Of course, it's true that if you take your food on the go, you have no other choice. But if you are at home, do not eat out of a container. The one thing that I always did was that I would prepare my oatmeal. I would eat it off of the container. And I'm at home. Now you could say, oh, but I don't want to dirty dishes. Fine. Then if you don't want to go through that, what you can do is take 3 deep breaths before you eat and also during your actual act of eating. And how can you start implementing that? Start with 1 meal a day. Okay, so you start to think which one is easiest. Is it breakfast? Is it lunch? Is it dinner? For example, for me, the easiest was dinner, because normally I would be at home, the food would be served on a plate, I could take my time. So that's exactly what I did. I started off at dinner. At dinner, I would grab a piece of the meat smaller. I would cut stuff smaller. I would put it in my mouth and put one trick that I did actually is actually putting your knife and fork down, like put it back on your plate and wait until you fully chewed up your food before you grab them again. That's going to force you to actually appreciate the food. And in a way, if you also cook at home, you're going to start to realize the flavors that you like more. Okay, I like this one because it has a zing to it. It has like an acidity to it, and I really like that. And you start implementing it in more dishes. Or I don't really like that flavor that much, or I feel like I added too much olive oil, or I feel like I added too much vinegar, or added too much salt or too much pepper. You start to understand flavors at a deeper level. And that actually starts to increase your pleasure, because then when you actually eat something that triggers all of your points, it feels like a party in your mouth. And also by doing so, by slowing down, appreciating, having that pleasure, that savoring your food, it also helps with your health in return, because you are not staying there absolutely full because you listened to your hunger cues, you knew when to stop. You might even serve smaller portions because of that knowledge, because you know, okay, so last time when I ate a steak with fries and egg, okay, but I only ate 3 spoons of the rice. I only ate around 15 potatoes. The egg, I couldn't even eat it. The steak, I ate all of it, but the salad, I left it untouched. Okay, so next time, because I want to be more healthy, I'm going to reduce my portion so that I'm able to appreciate everything on the plate, so that I actually can enjoy what I have cooked. And that is one very healthy way of you modifying and also learning about your body, being happier with the food that you eat, enjoying it a lot more, and helping your health in return, because your digestion is getting improved, you are not overeating, and you're still enjoying every little bite of your food in return. Another thing that you can do is called the 3 first bites. The 3 first bites is a rule that was done by a psychologist that I read in a book, where basically you do the first 3 bites of your meal in complete silence. You do not speak, you do not say anything, you just take those 3 first bites in complete silence. That forces you to have to really consider everything that you're doing during those 3 first bites. And the reason for this is to reprogram your brain into 1, being okay with the boredom of it all, 2, actually chewing your food and tasting it, and 3, starting to understand the pathway to your body from the mouth to your stomach. Because believe it or not, you can technically feel it if you really try. And it's going to allow you to understand how your stomach feels, how your body feels, and you're able to finally understand how a hunger cue and how a hunger satiety feels like. Because you can kind of feel it if you pay attention to it. So, I have given you all the tips, and now you're probably asking, okay, so cool, nice, but real life is harder than that. Fair. I understand completely, especially as someone that has worked, someone that is a student. You can't sometimes have that time. And that's completely fair. The key here is not to be perfect, is to increase the sensation. Because yes, you can be in school or in work and eat out of a Tupperware. Yes, you can sometimes have a lot less time to eat. And yes, you may have moments where you just want to eat and be done with it. That's completely fair. The key here is to implement it more often than not. So for example, for me, I know that my breakfast is going to be a rush in the morning, that my lunch at school is going to be out of a Tupperware. And I know that even my snacks are not going to feel fulfilling because, probably it's going to be just a yogurt that I shove down my throat in the 5 minutes that I have in between classes. But I can, at dinner, appreciate it more. I can take my time. I can make meals that are more intricate or at least more flavorful. I can take my time chewing. I can take my time savoring it. And the whole thing of plating, you don't have to have a perfect looking plate. You don't have to have it all pretty and having the steak sliced just right with the sauce right in that position. You don't have to. You're not forced to. What matters here is integrating things in a way that allow you to feel that more often than not. And if you start with one little step, it's going to cascade down to everything, almost like a domino falling. Okay? So now that I've given all of the tips, our video is over. Thank you so much for sticking around and having this little moment with me. And I hope to see you next week. And if you like, you can like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any questions for me, go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. And I'll see you next week. Have a lovely week. Bye-bye.